Alright, this is my air compressor for my air horn, and I don't think it's going to fit under the bed with the horns. So I think I'm going to have to mount it in the bed, and I'm thinking this is going to be the only place. So if I mount the fuel tank a little off center, hopefully that will work. But I need to check the port to see if it will fit. Alright, first thing we need to do is remove the plug from the tank and install the shutoff valve. Make sure there's enough space for me to leave space on the other side of the tank for the air compressor. Just putting some tape pipe on the threads. Go lift that up. Good, I think. Let's set it back down. Yeah, there's room to open and close. That should be good. Alright, now with the shutoff valve sticking out, is there room to fit the compressor in on this side? I think that will work. shut-off valve. There's the compressor. Maybe add some padding in there between for vibration, but I think that will work. Alright, I'm going to make sure that the toolbox can open okay. That a little bit. Measure to go under the bed and just make sure there's nothing down there that'll hit any of the holes. I think we're good. 6 inches behind this width. Alright, I'm going to go under the bed. Mark my spot where my hole needs to go for the fuel hose to go through the edge. To the corner of the bed. I'm going to mark the edges of the box. Make sure I put the neoprene tabs in the right place once I move it. It is hot in Eastern Tennessee today. Alright, I think we're ready to drill holes. Alright, I think we're through. looks good. Alright, we are good with the first hole. I think that one's good. See grass through the hole, so I think we're good there, but I'm gonna check to make sure. Yep, that one's good. Good too. Now we need to move the tank to put down the operating pad that goes underneath. Pull the bolts back out. Easier as a two-person job, but we'll figure it out. Actually, first, I'll go grab the shop vac and vacuum out the metal shavings. Alright, now I'm going to drill the hole for the fuel line to go through the bed. I'm a little nervous because there's a support that comes right through here for the bed, but it's hollow and there's holes in it, so I think I'll be able to run the fuel line through there. I think it'll be okay. To jerry rig a little bit the hole for the fuel line, but I added a rubber grommet and some epoxy, so it's probably stronger and safer than it would have been just following the directions, so I feel pretty good about it. So now these neoprene pads are supposed to go just on the ridges. Corrugation of the bed. now let's get the tank back in place and bolt it down. Since I had extra neoprene, I did go ahead and put a strip down the middle as well to add some extra support. Alright, now let's put the tank back down into position. Epoxy a little more time to harden, and I'll put on the attach the fuel hose before we move forward. Alright, I've got the tank back in place. I got the bolts through. I'm not sure how this is going to work on my own. Like, at least I can get the nuts on myself and then get some help to tighten them. So it goes washer, washer, and then a spring. Right, this is not going to work. Alright, this is really close quarters. I'm not sure if this is going to work on video or not, but I'm under the bed, and this is the metal fuel fill tube, and this is where the rubber fuel fill tube that runs into the tank meets it. So I'm going to disconnect this rubber tube, probably cut off 1.5 inches or 2 inches of it, and then add in the piece that the hose coming from the auxiliary tank fits to. So this will go in here, something like that. This is really tight. At least it's cooler than out in the sun. That's loose. Let's see if we can get this off. And hopefully I don't get fuel all over me too. All right, I'm gonna pause for a minute while I try and get this off. All right, here's an update. So I got the rubber hose removed from the metal fuel fill tube. I've got the small piece of rubber hose that came with the install kit from RDS over the metal fuel fill tube and the clamp on it as well. It was a challenge, a little bit hard to get it on because there's a lip at the end of the metal fuel tube, fuel fill tube. So I got it over that. So that's on there. So now I'm going to cut the piece off of this because I'm going to need some space anyway, but also because this was stretched out from being over the metal fuel fill tube. So just so it fits the new metal piece with the connector better, I'm going to cut off the piece of this and then work on getting the connector in there. All right, now I've got the adapter clamped down in the position I think I want it to go. And I've got the two clamps on the other small piece of rubber hose that's connected to the metal fill tube ready to go. So now I'm gonna shift this back, hopefully pop it into the short piece of rubber hose and get those clamps tightened down, and hopefully that should do it. And then obviously next I'll connect the fill tube from the auxiliary tank. All right, we've got an issue. The instructions said to cut off, I'm pretty sure it's at about 1.5 inches of the hose, and this is how much I cut off. But the fuel hose on the back end of the adapter running to the fuel tank now is really kinked. So I guess I'm gonna have to take off the clamp that I just put on, pull it out, and cut off some more of the hose. But I'm also worried about that bend, so I'm not sure what to do at this point. I'm gonna have to dig into it more and figure out what to do. All right, I think we're good. I went to Ace and got a confined space hacksaw and cut off about 2 inches or so of the metal fuel tank filler tube, and then deburred it and cleaned it out real good. So I think we should be good. So I'll show you how things look inside. All right, so here's everything connected up underneath. I cut off the metal fuel tube filler tube, connected that to one of the pieces of rubber hose that came with the installation kit from RDS. And then here's where the fill tube comes from the auxiliary tank. And I just added a tie here to connect it. And then I can't remember if I ever showed, but here's where the tank connects underneath. There's a spring as part of that to help so the tank can move a little bit on rough roads. But now let's go get some fuel and check to make sure that there are no leaks. Hopefully it's good. All right, so we've got got some fuel for the water toys first. Now let's put some fuel in the auxiliary fuel tank and make sure it doesn't have any leaks. fuel shutoff off at this point. There's 10 gallons in the auxiliary tank. I'll run some through the filler tube too to check to make sure there's no leaks there. Alright, found some shade out of the way from the gas station behind a grocery store to pull over and take a quick look, and I do not see any leak or feel anything damp or smell any diesel fuel, so I think we're in good shape so far. So now let me go up and open the valve on the auxiliary tank, let it start to flow, and see how that goes. Alright, fuel should be flowing from the auxiliary tank now. Still not seeing any leak. I think this may be a success. Let's head home. I'll leave the valve open while I'm driving home, and we'll see how that goes. Alright, so the mileage, the fuel tank is showing 522 miles available now. So let's see how that does as we go home. Oh, there's 523. Hopefully it's filling. So one last minor issue that I figured out pretty quickly and resolved quickly and should have realized before was that the check valve where the hose coming from the auxiliary tank connects, I didn't have it vertical enough, so fuel wasn't flowing. So I just loosened up the straps, the clamps around the connector there and twisted it around so it's more vertical. And I had the shut off at the auxiliary tank closed, but there was already fuel down in the line. So as soon as I moved the check valve up to be more vertical, I immediately heard the fuel flowing into it, and it did leak a little bit, obviously, because I had the straps loosened up, the clamps loosened up, but everything, once I tightened it down, everything was tight and good, and everything seems to be working really well. So I think we're in good shape now. So here's the final install completion for my 90-gallon RDS auxiliary fuel tank. Looks pretty good. I did set it slightly off center to have room on the right to install my air compressor for my air horn, but pretty happy with the end result. Got a nice size toolbox there to keep tools in, and this is the fuel, where the fuel goes in there. So pretty happy with the result.